Namaskar. Your name?
Valmiki.
And how did you get involved with the Nanda Marga and initiation?
I was at school, University of Pennsylvania. It was 1970, and there was an advertisement for getting mantra at Hill Hall, which is the girls' dorm. And I had a bunch of roommates, and all of us saw the poster, and we decided that we were going to go. So I ended up going into the room. It was a small room on the main floor. Had one brother sitting there. His name was Satish, who is now an important figure in our organization. At the time, he was just a young lad, finishing up his degree at the University of Pennsylvania. So I first went in the room and I saw that he had Baba's tape playing. I didn't know what tape was, but I thought he was going to be giving the initiation. But he told me to go to sit, and then I went into the room next door. It was a bed, a small cot, and Dada Vimalananda, the first Dada was here. He was there, cloaked in orange, and he asked me to sit down on the bed and gave me Nama Mantra. And that's how I came to Ananda Marga. I remember leaving the place feeling, I don't drink, but I felt I was drunk. So I remember that.
So share with us some of your experiences with meeting Baba after that.
Well, up until before I met Baba physically, I went to a retreat, met a couple of brothers who just came back from India. It was in New Jersey, and my future wife-to-be was there also, but I didn't know her then. And they were very inspiring. Baba gave them their names. I followed them up to Ithaca, New York, from Pennsylvania. And we started a joggery there. We started a bakery. And my experiences in Ananda Marga were predominantly satsang with the Margis, and also our retreat programs, etc. I didn't have a particular feeling or relationship with Baba's photo or Baba's picture or Baba's presence. It was really an internal journey that I was on, and I felt very, very much at home in Ananda Marga. I remember very clearly going home one time, going up to my bedroom at my parents' house and sitting down to do sadhana and feeling that, okay, I don't know if I'm on the right path. I don't know anything, but I'm only one insignificant human being. People die all the time, so I'm going to throw myself into this fully. And if Baba's my guru, that's great. If he isn't, it's okay too. I'm just going to dive deep into this process. And that's kind of like where I was at. But now, we got married. I met my wife in Syracuse on the way to a retreat in Vermont. Gomati and I married 9 months later in Vermont. And soon thereafter we had children. And it was 1978 when Baba came out of jail. He came to Calcutta a few months after, and Gomati and I went to see Baba in 1978, in November of 1978. And we had 3 children at home. They were taken care of. And that's when we first met Baba. So that story is very interesting. We didn't have names. It was very a whole tale unto itself. We didn't have names in 1978. Ananda Marga tradition is to provide names at initiation or at first lesson or at some point in time. Yeah, and Sanskrit names. And I had a desire, since I met those brothers who had been given names directly by Baba, I had a desire, okay, Baba will give me my name. I liked what they had, so I was determined for that. And somehow or other I managed to navigate through the organizational meetings and programs and lessons without anyone asking me why I didn't have a Sanskrit name, or maybe they thought I did and I wasn't using it. What's interesting is that Gomati also didn't have a Sanskrit name. She was initiated in 71, and somehow or other we got married, and we were known as Bill and Janet. And we were known as Bill and Janet for years and years and years, actively engaged in the organization. Nobody questioned it. So just before we were going to India in 1978, and I was so excited to go and have an opportunity to get a name from Baba, our very close Acharya who married us, Jitendra, who Filipino from Satyeshwarananda, he was on a plane ride to South America, to Venezuela. And we receive a postcard just days before we're going to India. And the postcard's a Pan Am postcard. If you remember, they had those cards in the slots. And on the card it said, Baba came to me in my dhyan, and he provided your names, Valmiki and Gomati. And I was devastated. I said, Dada, how could you do this? How could you give me name when I was going? I waited 8 years to go to see Baba to get a name. Anyway, we had names. So we arrived in India. It was good that we had names, because when we arrived at the place where Baba was, navigating to that place was interesting. But when we got there, the first thing they asked us, what are our names? What are our duties and our postings? And I didn't know much, so I said, Amert, or Eros. I said Eros, and they said, no, that's not a duty. What is your duty? So we got through that process, and as soon as we got up the stairs, and it was a large hall, we were separated. Auntie, Ananda Bharati, saw Gomati, and she took her under her wing, and they went off. And then the brothers came to me, and they said, do you know Tandava? And I said, yeah, I know Tandava. Okay, come with us. So they brought me to the roof. And on the roof, there was a dozen brothers. And they were all dancing Tandava. And I started dancing with them, and they were practicing, and I was dancing and dancing and dancing. And then finally, after all of that, they brought us down, and they put me in a room. And there was nobody in the room except for me and one other brother. And then they started dressing me up, in all of the uniform, and then giving me the utensils, the skull, the knife, and also putting color on my, and all of this. And I said, what's happening? And they said, you're going to dance Tanda for Baba. So now adrenaline is starting to flow, So they walked me up to the front, and Baba's door is only 5 feet away on the right, and I'm sitting facing the pandal where Baba was to sit, maybe about 15 feet away, and the brother was sitting in front of me, and we were sideways to the audience. And then the next thing was that the door opens, and I'm looking down, in meditative state, and right next to me, I'm seeing Baba's feet. And he's walking very slowly, moving his slippers one step at a time, sliding them along the floor. And that's my first view of Baba, was his feet. And then Baba sits, and they say, Tandava. So I stand up with the brother. But the brother was right in line, so I couldn't see Baba. And I was second in place. And then Baba waves to the brother to move aside. So then I'm standing there like this, looking straight into Baba's eyes. For the first time I'm seeing Baba. And they called Tandava. And I danced like I never danced before and never danced again. That was my first experience of Baba. And then I sat, and then afterwards I was very excited after Baba gave his talk, and I went up to Gomati and I said, did you see that? Did you see me dance Tandava? She says, no. I said, what do you mean no? How could you not see me? She says, I was watching Baba. I didn't see you. She was sitting there, and so I had no proof. I have no proof that this actually occurred. Anyway, that's the story there. We both got PC during that period of time. a short few days, and DMC was there. And that was our first visit with Baba. My PC, yeah, my PC was very interesting. Probably very common in that Baba's PCs follow a certain routine. I do remember Dr. Ramananda, who was PA, was sitting outside with his little cassette and microphone, you know. So they send me in, tell me what to do. I do Satsang Pranam, and then Baba calls me close. And he says, you know, where am I from, my name, and the name of my acharya. I became a little confused about the name of my acharya because I was initiated actually twice. First lesson was given by Jatishwarananda. So then finally, after bumbling around, I finally got to say Jatishwarananda, and I think I got passed because he gave me first lesson. So what I clearly recall, of course, is Baba asking, why did I commit so many mistakes like that? You know, am I ready to accept punishment for my past mistakes? And I said, yes, Baba. And then him raising his hand and then closing my eyes and then feeling his touch on my face. He asked me what kind of boy I would like to be. And I answered, like you, Baba.
Can't go wrong with that one.
I was a little over the top, but that's what I said. Anyway, it was a very beautiful experience. I came out, and then Ramananda caught me and gave me the microphone and said, okay, what's your experience? And I said, now I'm like you, Dada. That's what I remember. So yeah, it was a very fulfilling experience. And of course, after so many years, there was no question about Baba being my guru. By then, there was no doubt about it. And of course, seeing his beautiful complexion and being close to him was very special for both Gomati and myself. Some beautiful stories about being there in Lake Gardens, which is Baba's house right near in Calcutta, not too far from Tilja. One time, I had a long desire to sing Prabhat Sangeet for Baba. And why? Because I was very close to Arun, who is a dynamo in New York. He lived in our house for a while, him and Nishima. We started a school there, progressive school. And Arun is fantastic in Prabhat Sangeet. And he got to sing before Baba. And he understood the language well. And I wanted to have that opportunity to sing before Baba because he told us stories. And I knew it was highly unlikely, and I didn't know any Prabhat Sangeet. So we were going to India, and I decided that I would learn one Prabhat Sangeet by heart. I'd learn it fully, I'd understand the words, I'd take it and make it my own. So I did that, practiced and practiced and practiced, and went to India. I met Auntie's grandson, who's now an acharya, Ananda Bharati's grandson. And he and I became friendly, and we were chatting, and I told him I had a desire to sing Prabhat Sangeet, Baba, and he said, no, you can't do it, you know, you don't have the accent, nobody will understand you, and you won't be able to, it's not going to happen. Anyway, we had this fun thing going on. Well, I understood the ropes, so I came out of the hall and went right to where Baba's car would be. I knew where his car would be when it pulled out of the garage, backed out, and I stood right where I thought was the back window of the car. And I waited, because before Baba comes down, there's Prabhat Sangeet. And Prabhat Sangeet is in call response form. And normally there's so many people and the deities are singing, someone is singing at any one time, but then they finish, because we never know when Baba's going to come. And then there's an opportunity to start again. So I listened to Prabhat Sangeet, and we were singing call and response. And then at one particular moment, I grabbed the opportunity during a pause, and I started to sing. And I was singing, Nayone Mamotavara Ashite, like that. And Baba's coming. Okay, my moment has come. So I'm singing, and everybody's repeating because it's call and response. And what happens is I get so filled with this vibration that I was singing the same verse over and over and over again. Nayone mamotavara ashite Nayone, and I kept on singing, and they had to respond. So coming down, Baba's there, and he comes over and he goes into the car, and I'm continuing to sing, and the window is down, and he slides over, and he's within only a few feet, and I'm singing the same verse over and again, and then Baba turns his head and he says, "Who is singing?" And silence. And I go, "Valmiki Baba." And Baba says, "He is singing so sweetly. Go on singing." And I fall back, and I'm caught by Prashantadas, who is, we can say is the embodiment of Prabhat Sangeet singing for Baba, So he puts me back up, and Baba's car, and I'm singing, Baba's car is pulling out. And my initial opportunity to sing Prabhat Sangeet for Baba was fulfilled.
Amazing.
Another time, we were standing in the same location, Gomati and I. We were about to leave, and the place was filled again, and Baba's car was pulled out. We were standing on the back rear side of the car next to the gate, and we were about to leave, and we asked, what is appropriate? What do we say to catch Baba's attention? Because, the most important thing that you can imagine is to try to whether you garland Baba or catch his attention or get a word, get his glance, anything. So what is the right thing to say? What do we do? We're leaving. So I was told what to say. You say this: "We invite you to come to the United States, Baba." Okay, I was prepared. So Gomati and I are standing there. And next to us is Mangala Bihari, an old, very, very senior Mardi, wonderful Daha, and his wife was standing next to us. So Baba's coming out, and he's standing by the car. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, it was a return. Baba's returning, not going. He's returning from fieldwork. And he comes out of the car, and he starts to walk towards the side of the house where he goes into the house. And I call out very loudly, "Baba, we invite you to come to the United States." And immediately after that, Mangala Bihari says, "Baba, we invite you to come to Jaipur." So then Baba turns. Everyone's silent, everybody completely silences when Baba's about to speak. And Baba turns and he says, with that amazing glance and smile and twinkle, he says, "Am I not in the United States? Am I not in Jaipur?" Pavanam Kevalam. It was most memorable.
What a response.
Yeah. Later, I had the opportunity to, Dharma Samks'a, I was old already, 39, I think, 38. But Dharma Samks'a went to Baba and asked if Valmiki could become LFT. I was already long past the age when I could do so. Anyway, I was granted permission to become LFT. I went to Anandanagar for a few days. I got training, came back, and was with a few brothers in Lake Gardens, and we were all called up to the second floor, Baba's residence, just outside of his room. We were standing there, 6 of us, and a few daughters, and Baba came out, and he sat on a cot. And he was in a t-shirt, and he started asking questions of these brothers. So LFT, you could say test. And he was asking questions of the brothers about their city of origin, the topography, the geography, the history, and they didn't know the answers so well. And there was tension in the room, as there would always be during a test. And Baba would repeat, perhaps you don't keep this information? It's a wonderful expression of Baba's. And I think about the expression, you know. It's like we have the information, but we don't keep it. We don't hold it. All the information. So Baba said, perhaps you don't keep this information. He would go on. And then, with the serious mood created by these testing environment, Baba says, and why is the letter T like an island? And everyone is silent. And Baba says, perhaps you don't keep this information? The letter T is in the middle of the water. And then he, W-A-T-E-R. Baba has a way of completely breaking the tension in the room. And then he gives approval with a little nod that we could all enjoy as well. Because you don't laugh, you know, unless Baba shows that he's in that mood also. So Baba would give the look, and then we would all enjoy together the moment, the levity of the moment.
I remember you, when I was in India, doing a lot of filming.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
Well, it was a very simple formula. I saw the equipment in India, and I decided to upgrade the equipment. So I went home, I bought the latest model of cameras, and the most important thing I bought was a Sennheiser mic. It was this long, quite costly, and I brought that because Baba's voice was not being recorded properly through the intercom system. So I had to work really hard at the process. But when I brought the equipment, of course, I was the one who had the equipment. I knew how to use the equipment, so I was able to get Monteshwarananda to approve my sitting alongside the already designated photographer. And I was side by side with him on the pandal in front of Baba's place of seating for the DMCs and RU speeches. And I was able to record and take photographs. So I had 3 pieces of equipment. Of course, that's how I got there, you know, through a little bit of negotiating. I had 3 pieces of equipment, the camera, and on the camera I had a push-button switch. I had my video camera focused on Baba, and, so interesting, I had a small pair of binoculars. Now, I was sitting very close. We were actually nobody between us and the stage. But in the name of professionalism, I wanted to catch every single possible subtle movement, anticipate every movement that Baba might make. So I had the shutter in my hand. I had the binoculars here. I imagine Baba was seeing me, but I don't think about that so much because it would have stood out. And I was able to take pictures of Baba and videotape Baba. And of course, the drama that followed was that, you know, there was Monteshwarananda, there was Pranavananda, and later, and Paramahansa, and it was their department. You know, I was just a tool. But I had the only American system. There was the European system, there was the US system. So it was 8mm, then nobody else could play anything there, so I was very clear that I would try to collect whatever I could. Counter to the rules, no doubt. So I would take out the videotape and I'd put in a blank, because they wouldn't know the difference anyway, they couldn't play it. But I was caught. I would take it back to the room, to the in Tildula, the New York sector room, And I would be there ready to do something, and then the door would burst open, and there would be Pranavananda or Mante. So they would come in and they grab what they could. So it went on like that. I collected a few things, but not much. They have the majority. Anyway, I was official photographer at that point, and one of them. And I had the opportunity to take pictures of Baba and videotape. Now, there was a couple of instances where they didn't have anybody. One was the initiation of the VSS quarters right near, in Anandnagar, right near Baba's quarters, and they needed somebody to videotape it. Certainly the people who were in charge of VSS, they wanted somebody to document that event. So I got to sit in the car, and they drove down, Baba came out, and I was able to follow Baba around as an official videographer. And I remember that very well. Baba went into the room, and he signed, and he said some beautiful things, and it was all documented. But the most special moment of all was when Keshavananda, who was PA, Baba's PA, he happened to also be Amir's secretary. Against all the rules, he comes to me and says, I want you to videotape the Amrit meeting. I said, certainly. How? How can we do it? He says, you sit in my room, and I'll call you at the right moment, and you'll come in front. So I had this Mexican poncho, which had a slit front and back. So I took the camera, and I placed it under the poncho, and the viewfinder was pointing up, and I just had the lens sticking out. And I sat down right in the front, on the race side. And this is the most memorable 24 minutes of videotaping, I think, for my collection or my experience. I don't know if I've ever seen anything like it. And I've been working on just recently, working on the subtitles for it, because it's very hard to understand. And the videotape is not so great, but Baba's voice is pretty clear. Mm-hmm. So I captured that. And I give all appreciation to Keshavananda for his insight. I don't even know if I ever gave him a copy, but I have that, and it's the archives. It's in the archives. So there were other events. I was able to do a lot of interviews of people that are, like Ashimananda and Ananda Bharati and Prashanta Das and and Baba's driver and his VSS guard, and I was there doing videotapes in Anandnagar, and we really enjoyed the process.
So what has become of those videos?
Well, I turned over all of the things that I had to Giridhar for the archives, and then he returned to me the digital versions of that. Although there's some confusion as to whether I actually gave him everything. I don't know, I'm not sure, it's so long ago, and whether or not he returned everything. So now I'm trying to recollect all of those things from working with the archives to figure it out.
Of course, in those days, any kind of filming or photography was strictly prohibited unless you had permission from the centre and Baba.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And I hold in high regard those rules and regulations. I also appreciate Baba wanting us to do what we can to get close to him. So in that light, I went to every meeting I could. Bhukti Pradhan meeting, Amrit meeting, LFT reporting. I mean, it didn't matter. If I could get in, I'd get in, I'd get in line and I'd go up if I was able to get in, and I would enjoy. So that's part of the experience. And having some of Baba's... Now, I've kept these things very, very close. I haven't distributed anything. Because we all hold, at least the old days, we all held very high regard Baba's photo and any images of Baba. Of course, times change, but I still hold that same belief. And
many of us used to, particularly at DMC, smuggle in recorders to try and catch his voice, or some might even try and take a photo, but it was always very risky because the datas were scanning and looking for anyone.
Yeah.
You're recording, you get thrown out if you got caught.
I was fortunate to be able to take some wonderful pictures of Baba, and I have some slides. And the resolution is very good, so it's worthy of being expanded upon. We have so many experiences with Baba. With my five children, Gomati and I would go to India. We were at Mahaprayan. We were also in Anandanagar together.
Did you get Dharma Samks'a?
Yes, got Dharma Samks'a. Dharma Samks'a was such a beautiful, beautiful experience. You know, it was 1981, and Dada Virabhadrananda, who Dharma Devananda, I think is his name also, he was in our house, and he was the one who was downstairs with Gomati, and he was telling her about Baba's 16 points checking and inspiring us to go. And of course, it was all supposed to be very wonderful and light and sweet. Well, Gomati was already 4 months pregnant with our daughter Jaya. And but we took Dada up. We had someone take care of the children, and we hopped on the plane. It was in July, and we went to India for Dharma Samks'a together. And it's a very special environment. As soon as I got there, one brother, he offered me his pratik, because I didn't have a pratik. Rudresh. And then he says to me, okay, a few things. If Baba asks any question, you give one response. No excuse, Baba. He was telling me this is the proper response. No excuse, Baba. So I held that in my mind. And then he said, and Baba's also using his stick, but not to worry, because no Westerners have received any stick from Baba. Beating, if you will. So then, in my mind, I started to feel, oh Baba, don't discriminate, because I so much would like to feel his touch. So we all go into the room, and there were 16 brothers or 20, I don't know, sitting in rows and columns, and Dadas on both sides of Baba. And the brother before me went up, and Baba was giving so much experience of his past life, perhaps, because he didn't remember anything. What Baba was telling him that he did wrong, and he kept on saying, no. Finally, he accepted, and he received his blessings, and then it was my turn. I also had a desire for Baba to show me, as he's shown many, that he knew who I was. He knew where I was from, or something about my life, just a little tidbit. We lived in New York, and not too far from the airport. So it was my turn. I stood up before Baba, and Baba, we're only a matter of a few feet, so close to Baba, and he says, why are you not following the points? Why are you committing these errors? And of course, the response was to be, no excuse, Baba. So I say, lack of proper guidance, Baba. And Baba turns, he says, what did he say? And I said, lack of proper guidance. And then he says, with so many acharyas passing through? And that was the first thing, because we lived close to the airport, and 365 days a year we had some guest, some Dada, some Margi was staying with us. So Baba showed me that he knew who I was. And then, while I was sitting, I was saying, Baba, don't discriminate, don't discriminate, don't discriminate. I wanted Baba's stick. So then Baba signaled to the Dadas to have me raise my arms. And then Baba took out his stick and he started giving me his blessings. And I'm smiling every time Baba's touching. I'm smiling and smiling. I'm going like this. And maybe 8 or 10, I don't know, times Baba touched me. And then I sit before him very close and I'm smiling ear to ear, and Baba puts his fingers on my mouth and says, "Do you know how to smile?" And he just pushing up the sides of my... So I was in quite an amount of bliss, you could say, and very pleased. And then I went out, and Gomati had also received Dharma Samks'a. That's her story. And I asked her to take a picture when we went back to the hotel. I said, "Yeah, I have Baba's, a little welting up, nice strokes." I said, "Take a picture." And she said, "No, I'm not taking pictures." I'm not taking pictures. So I turned to the mirror and I took a picture. And I still have that picture. So I like to say that I have proof that I was touched by Paramapurusha.
How touching.
I was in business 1986. I stopped. Baba let me leave my business so that I could come and go to India frequently during those years. I was very blessed to be able to have that opportunity. And, as I remember things, I tried to jot them down.
One thing I remember about you, which I always admired, is, correct me if I'm wrong, but every morning you used to have Dharma Chakra with your children.
Well, there was a small meditation room that we had, and I made the rule that there was no talking in the meditation room except for kirtan and reading Baba's books. And all of the children, there's 7 of us, would get together. And my ideation was, at the time, that they will all become family acharyas, regardless. That all of us would become family acharyas. So that was my... they might have received that vibration as they were growing up. But yeah, we did sadhana together, and actually our children were brought up in Ananda Marga, from the very beginning. And we attended all of the programs and all of the retreats. And we grew up with our closest brothers and sisters who were married, even married in our house, and baby naming ceremonies. I mean, long history of very close relationships. And then there was Ananda Kanan for so many years that we went to every year, and the retreats. So yeah, a huge Margi family, which is very special. Right now, I'm still engaged in my work. I do custom design and building and development work back home. My son Amit and my daughter Jaya are both working with me in that. I remain active that way, but I have freedom because they allow me to go and travel, and I travel with Gomati, and we've been enjoying coming to different programs. We went to Copenhagen. We took our 3 grandsons to Europe last year and toured Europe in a motorhome. Just before that, the year before, we took them to 2 of them to the national park. So we have a lot of family living nearby, and we stay active. Of course, Ananda Marga in Asheville, where we were brought there by Vishwamitra a long time back, even before he arrived. And we've seen it grow beautifully. So it's a great center. Thinking of Baba is not easy in our sadhana. He remains elusive. But when you're in his presence, you don't have to think about doing sadhana. All you have to do is gaze. In Ananda Nagar, Baba would walk on the roof, and he would come and go, and he would disappear for a period of time. And I was videotaping Baba on the roof. From down below, we're all singing kirtan. But waiting for Baba's arrival, anticipating him coming around the bend and then seeing his face, like in sadhana, only different, because now you're actually getting the Tanmantra, you're getting the actual visual of Baba, and you didn't feel that you had to do sadhana when you were in his presence, because seeing him was everything. We had so many adventures in Anandanagar. I was there for the last DMC, the final DMC in Anandanagar. Just before that, there was a DMC, and it was canceled because Baba was actually not able to attend because of his health. And we were going to go, but we didn't. And then Baba arranged for us to come for that last DMC, which was a very dramatic DMC. And we were blessed to have his presence then. I think that the opportunity to catch Baba is so ever present in my life that I truly feel, and this goes along with all of those who have come after Baba has gone, that my, if you say, best days are ahead. Every morning, every day that I have the opportunity to do sadhana, I feel so blessed. Trying to catch Baba. Baba's writings, he says that if your mind becomes active, try to remember that time when you were singing kirtan and you were feeling bliss. Try to remember this and that, and it'll help bring your mind into line. So obviously, so many memories of Baba physically, also dreams of Baba, and those things come into my mind, and I try to use that as a tool to help me in my sadhana. But some more stories are there, but we'll leave that for another time. Namaskar.